Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call on his name, make known his deeds among the peoples. It's good to see you this morning and to welcome you to the Chapel by the Sea for this service of worship, and on behalf of the congregation to extend a special greeting to those of you who are visiting. We're certainly happy that you're here. Hope that you enjoyed the service and that you will come and worship with us again. The announcements are printed in your bulletins. As usual, I will call your special attention to several items. First of all, we need some more members for the marketing committee, so if you're at all interested in working with that group, you can contact the church office and let Sherry know, and we'll give you the information. If you just want information, we can give you that too, but if you're interested in that, we'd love to have you join the group. Don't forget the Haven of RCS, that's the Spouse Abuse Shelter, is going to be having their annual luncheon. The information is in your bulletin. It's going to be on October 27th. If you wish to go, call and make your own arrangements, and if you wish to sit at a table with other members from Chapel by the Sea, you are certainly invited to do so. Simply tell them when you make your reservations. Stop Hunger Now is going to be in just a few weeks. It's going to be on October 15th, Saturday. Again, the information is there. We need money to buy the materials and to send the meals to underdeveloped countries. We're going to be planning to put together 15,000 bags of food. All ages are welcome. We've had people from 4 years old to 80 or 90 years old. So everybody can do something. There's lots of work to be done. We do need some younger, stronger, probably males, although I think some of the women can do it too, to help unload the truck when it comes. So that would be a little bit earlier. But see Rick Owens on checkup. You can make your contributions, and you can also sign up to help with that program in the Friendship Foyer following the service of worship. We also need some liturgists, as Jeff Muller is doing this morning. We like to have others participate in the worship service, so if you're interested in that, there is a sign-up sheet in Friendship Foyer. Now, we've got several classes. The first class of the story began this morning in the conference room with Scott and Sue Moncrief. Very, very well attended. There's still room if more of you would like to join that. And also Linda Owens and Ann Garris will be doing it on Wednesday evenings, and that's coming up for the first session this coming Wednesday. You don't have to go to all of the sessions, so if you miss one or two, it's not going to matter. They kind of stand on their own. Same thing applies to the group, the Monday night, we're not calling it Non-Trivial Pursuits anymore, I guess, but the Monday night class on science and religion. The next one's going to be a week from tomorrow on October 3rd at 7 o'clock. The programs will be 1.5 hours, and you'll have a chance probably for a little bit of discussion, but it's fabulous just using our new technological equipment in Chapel Hall, our new theater equipment, so you'll definitely want to come to see what's going on. That's the announcements. I'll trust you to read the rest of them yourselves. Let's now begin our service of worship.
This Please join the invitation to celebration, our call to worship responsively. We are here, greeted by the beginning of a new day.
We are blessed with new challenges and new opportunities.
And we have been given the gifts to meet whatever comes our way.
So we express our gratitude for all we have received.
Let us raise our voices in prayer and praise.
We join together as we come to God.
In unison, as the sun beams down on our part of the world, we greet this new day with enthusiasm and anticipation. Lord, give us whatever we need to face the contingencies which constantly confront us. Grant us strength and courage as we meet our daily needs, and the selflessness required to meet those of others. Show us new paths of service and devotion, paths leading to a new and stronger relationship with you. This is our prayer, ending with Jesus' words. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
Amen.
In gratitude for the many gifts we have received, let us be generous in our morning offering.
O God, we live in a world which, despite its beauty and glory, is frustrating and frightening, confusing and confounding. Sometimes the problems we face seem insurmountable, and we really don't know which way to turn. We want to do what is good. We want to do what is right. We want to do what we believe that you want us to do. But we run out of strength, of faith, of courage, of steam. We seem to walk through too many valleys, and the mountains we are forced to climb are daunting. We need help. So we come to you. And we come to you more often than not through those in whom we have found your presence. Enable us to ask for assistance when we need it, and to provide assistance whenever we can. Turn our eyes toward that which is possible as we implement our promises and walk the roads that might lead to the fulfillment of our hopes and dreams. Let us make better tomorrows for all the world's creatures as we use whatever skills and talents we possess to serve you and others. So we pray, coming to you now in the silence of personal prayer and meditation. Amen. to you from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, verses 35 through 45. And it consists of an episode when Jesus is together with his disciples, and two of them make a special request of him. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." And then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. So Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be a slave to all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." May we gain a greater insight and understanding of these words as we continue together in our worship this morning.
Spread
Obviously, the structure is sound. The ceiling will not fall in on us. Before I start the sermon, just a little piece of business. How many of you liked that first hymn we sung today? Show of hands. Okay, how many of you never heard it before? Okay, how many of you think I ought to rip it out of the hymnal and never use it again? Okay, I just wanted to get that straight. I wanted to show you also that the hymns, I picked the hymns, Marilyn has nothing to do with that. So just to avoid any blame that might be attached to her. A Cadillac Escalade pulled up next to a Rolls Royce at a traffic light. As you know now, both of these are expensive and impressive automobiles. The Cadillac owner pulled down his window and in a very snobby voice asked the Rolls owner if he had a car phone. "Of course I do," came back the haughty reply. "Well, what about a fax machine?" The Rolls owner indicated that he had one of those also. "All right," queried the Cadillac owner, "do you have a double bed in the back of your car?" Embarrassed and chagrined, the Rolls owner sped away and that afternoon had a double bed installed. The following week, the Rolls passed the same Cadillac, now parked on the side of the road. Its back windows fogged up and lots of steam pouring out. The driver of the Rolls pulled over, stopped, got out of his car, and banged on the windows of the Cadillac until the driver stuck his head out. "I want you to know that I had a double bed installed," bragged the Rolls owner. The Cadillac owner, obviously unimpressed, said, "You got me out of the shower to tell me that?" Ridiculous story, right? But it serves to expose and illustrate an emotion which is also kind of ridiculous. I refer to the desire, the drive, the goal, which is in pretty much each and all of us to be the biggest and the best, to be number one. If you are at all into sports, you see this displayed constantly, and it doesn't matter what sport. It was evident in the recent Olympics as the various winners would flash the number one sign after their events. And as they leave the field, we find football players do the same thing if they won, even if they have lost most of the rest of their games. Basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball, tennis, it doesn't matter. We're number one, we're number one, we're number one. Today's scripture reading introduces us in a new way to two of Jesus' more prominent disciples, the brothers James and John. It was James and John who left their father Zebedee sitting in a boat in the middle of a lake when they responded to Jesus' invitation to follow him. The third and fourth after Peter and Andrew to do so. In a sense, I guess, this made them part of Jesus' inner circle, or at least they thought that they were. And as such, they believed that they deserved some special attention from their leader, if not now, certainly after he established his kingdom. So it was that while the group was walking to Jerusalem, they asked Jesus quietly, privately, and away from the other disciples, if he would do for them whatever they requested. Watch out for that kind of a question. Well, Jesus knew that he could handle it, so he asked them what it was that they wanted. They told him that when he came into his glory, they wanted to sit at his left and to his right in what would obviously be places of power and prestige. Was this some kind of power play in the executive suite? Since they had been with Jesus longer than most of the other disciples, they apparently felt that they deserved top positions when Jesus reached his goals. Is there anyone here who can relate to that? Don't we all, to at least some extent, have a drive to be number one? We are not that far past July, the month named for Julius Caesar. Not to be outdone, his successor and heir, Augustus, had a month named for him. But since that month, at the time, only had 30 days, he borrowed one from February so that his month would not be inferior to that of his uncle and his father by adoption. Perhaps Augustus Caesar was the spiritual ancestor of James and John. In the years just before World War II, and as fascism was gaining ground in Europe, Charlie Chaplin made a movie entitled The Great Dictator. In one hilarious and telling scene, which takes place in a barber shop, Charlie Chaplin as Hitler and Jack Oakey as Mussolini are sitting in adjacent chairs getting shaves. The episode centers around each attempting to show his superiority and dominance in leadership and importance. Stuck in their chairs, they can only do this by controlling the height. So they reach down and frantically start jacking up those chairs, racing with one another to get higher and higher until they both move off the top of the screen. James and John envisioned themselves as Jesus' right and left hands in his coming kingdom. Perhaps they thought they would be his secretaries of state and defense, VIPs of the highest order. They sought positions of power and prestige. Jesus asked them if they really knew what they were doing, if they were ready and able to drink the cup that he would be required to drink or be baptized as he had been baptized. Their somewhat naive and overly confident response, "We are able." These men obviously were not shrinking violets. They had solid self-esteem. They possessed what 20th century American novelist and playwright Wallace Hamilton once called the drum major instinct, the drive within us to be first and best. And that is not something in and of itself for which we ought to apologize. It was on February 4, 1993, that basketball legend Larry Bird bid goodbye to his fans at Boston Garden. The 2.5-hour ceremony included the retiring of his jersey and the placing of number 33 in the Garden's rafter heaven. Typical of the class he displayed on the court, Bird's words were well chosen. And perhaps the most significant of them were the following: "I never put on a uniform to play a game. I put on a uniform to win." Now think about that for a moment. This former Hoosier, who worked on a garbage truck before finding his niche in basketball, said something that you and I need to apply to our faith. If we are truly committed, we will never be satisfied with just playing. We will want to win. Sometime back, there was an article in Sports Illustrated about a winning streak put together by the girls' volleyball team from Dayville High School in Oregon. These girls had a run of 65 victories before losing. This in a school with only 18 female students, 16 of which were on the team and a 17th who kept score. Although one of the smallest Class B high schools in the state, Dayville won a championship 3 years in a row. How did they do it? At least partly because of unbridled optimism. After the next victory following the defeat, a letter was sent which described it all. The team rebounded and now has a winning streak of 1. The men and women who followed Jesus were not wimps. They couldn't be. They were strong and confident people who were willing to risk their lives for a dangerous cause in which they believed. Jesus didn't nickname James and John sons of thunder because they were shy and retiring. Peter tried to take on the entire squad of temple guards when they came for Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And although they took off and hid out after their leader's capture, they rebounded and all but one of the named disciples died violently as a result of his death. Most Christians misinterpret the meaning of the biblical teachings about meekness and humility. Jesus wasn't calling for Casper milquetoast followers. Wimps were more of a problem to Jesus than sons and daughters of thunder. Wimps made the faith look weak and pathetic. Wimps have difficulty standing tall and being counted. Wimps are never leaders. And in fact, they're not even particularly good followers. The Christian faith needs people with drum major instincts, those who are willing to stand out in or from a crowd and make a difference. Are you able to bear what will be required of you in and for my name? That's what Jesus was asking James and John in response to their request. And they assured him that they were. Well, this interchange evidently filtered back to the rest of the disciples who were not pleased. They were upset that the brothers had sneaked off and cornered Jesus in such a manner. Probably they were most upset because they hadn't thought of it first. After all, they too dreamed of prestige and power. Their unity took a hit, and they began to argue among themselves. And it was at this point that Jesus called them together and set them on a new track. Notice that he did not scold James and John for their ambition, nor did he try to make them feel small and stupid. Rather, Jesus showed all of them a different path to greatness. Remember his words. Whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slaves to all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. Now that certainly wasn't what James and John had in mind. They wanted power and prestige. They wanted to be number one, and Jesus turned their notion of greatness, as well as that of the other disciples, upside down. Jesus taught them all, and us in the process, that in the kingdom, true greatness is found in serving others. Robert Pierce, a 20th century American Baptist minister and relief worker who founded World Vision International, was sick and dying. Before that happened, he wanted to visit his friend Borneo Bob Williams, a missionary serving in Indonesia. When he arrived, he saw a young girl lying on a bamboo mat on the dirt floor. Pierce asked him about her and was told that she only had days to live. "Why is she here and not at that nice, clean clinic?" he asked. Borneo Bob replied that she was a jungle girl who asked to be near the river that day because it was cooler. As Pierce knelt beside the girl, trying to provide some comfort, she told him that because of her pain, she was not able to sleep. "If only I could sleep again," she kept repeating. Having the same experience because of his illness, he cried for and with her, and then reached into his pocket for his bottle of sleeping pills. He gave them to Borneo Bob with the instructions, "You make sure she gets a good night's sleep from now on," realizing that it would be 10 days before he could refill his prescription in Singapore. He exhibited Jesus' observation that greatness is found in serving others. Jesus was neither naive nor simple. He knew what it was to be human. He knew that when we accomplish something of value, we tend to want recognition, we tend to want acclaim, we tend to want credit, we tend to want awards and plaques to bring to and hang on our walls. Jesus understood all that, and yet he told us that true greatness is found in service to the community, to the church, to various causes, to the least and the lowest. And this is something that the truly great provide, whether or not they receive accolades for their actions. At this point in their discipleship, James and John wished to take the easy road. They wanted success without service. They wanted to be given power and prestige without having to earn it. They did not realize that service is the key to greatness, or that service is what the kingdom is all about. When Doug Meeland, Wycliffe missionary and Bible translator, moved with his wife into a village of Brazil's Fulneo Indians, he was referred to as the white man. They are used as an uncomplimentary term. You see, other white men had exploited the villagers, burned their homes, stolen their lands. But he, after learning the language, provided medicine and other resources which improved their lives. And thus his new designation became the good white man. Then when the Melans began adopting the customs of the people, they spoke of Doug as the white Indian. One day while he was washing the dirty and blood-caked foot of an injured boy, he heard a bystander say, "Who ever heard of a white man washing an Indian's foot? Certainly this man is from God." After that, whenever Doug Meeland entered an Indian home, it would be announced, "Here comes the man God sent us." James and John, the sons of thunder, learned about greatness after asking for it and being told what it really was. We are given the same message from the same Christ if we want to also become sons and daughters of thunder. Sons and daughters of thunder in what ultimately turned out to be the James and John mold, providers of service. And we don't have to be missionaries in foreign fields to attain such a designation. We just have to be willing to do for others. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. That's what we too are called to do. As we leave here, may it be to discover in our own lives that the road to greatness is through service. And as we serve others, we're also serving God. And as we do that, may the Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace, both now and forevermore. Amen.